All right, welcome back to my channel. And if you haven't been here before, my name is Kavina. I just had a baby, and my baby is now 3 weeks old today, and I'm just trying to put together videos to let you know basically everything I've been learning over the past few weeks, because it's a lot and there are so many questions that I imagine newborn parents have. I know that my husband and I did, and we were so lucky because for various medical reasons, I was in hospital for a week after my C-section. And because of the amazing support at my hospital with the midwives, everyone's assigned a midwife, as well as the fact that there are multiple other midwives just constantly coming through and checking on you, as well as the pediatrician and the obstetrician. There's so much support that we felt like every single question we had was answered within seconds, because they encourage you to press a button if you had any questions or were nervous about anything. And would check on you every hour anyways. And so we had the benefit of every time we didn't know if something was normal or if or what to do with something, they would answer our questions. So I thought that basically everything that we either Googled or asked them or both, I would make a video of our top 10 questions we had once we had the baby. So I wrote them down, because every time we wrote them down, I was like, seriously, like how are we supposed to know that? Because we went to parenting classes, online parenting classes, because it's coronavirus time in 2020, and there were no in-person classes. So we just went to a bunch of online classes, which were great, so informative, but you can't really know what to ask until you have your baby, and there's all these things that you just don't know about, and you don't know whether or not they're a concern or what's even happening. So, and you're so tired and you're so confused, that it was extremely helpful that we had such brilliant people to help us as new parents. So, question 1. When my baby was born, we kept seeing the baby twitch. So baby would have like all these little spasms and constantly go like that, as if he were falling. And we didn't know if there was something wrong with our baby or what that movement was. That is the Moro reflex. So if you see your baby doing like jerky movement or shaky movement, that's the Moro reflex, and that is totally normal, nothing to be worried about. And it goes away apparently after 3 months. So I have a 3-week-old and he's still doing it, because the nurses considered it a good thing that he has the Moro reflex, and that's what you should expect. That made us feel less scared about the fact that our baby would just start, making all these jerky, shaky movements. So Moro reflex, it's a good thing, nothing to worry about. Don't worry about that one. Number 2, this one scared the crap out of me because I didn't know this, and I wouldn't want you to experience what I experienced. So one of the things you're obviously worried about when you are a first-time parent, a parent ever, is SIDS. And so I would, when he was first born, actually not even when he was first born, pretty much continuous, I still check constantly. I just worry about whether or not he's still breathing, because obviously he had the benefit of being safe in my tummy for the past 9 months, and once he's out, you do just feel this constant need to check that he's okay, because other than when he's crying, he's completely quiet, with the occasional whimper or grunt or things like that. So when he's completely silent, you do feel quite often the need to check to see if he's breathing and he's okay. We follow the SIDS guidelines. There's nothing in his bassinet, but you do just worry that, he'll cover his own face with his hand or something and not breathe or something. And so I used to reach into his bassinet when he was beside me in the hospital, and feel him just to make sure he was still warm and breathing. FYI, do not try and check if your baby's okay by checking their feet or their hands, because for the first 3 months of their life, their hands and their feet are freezing cold. So I would feel a cold hand or a cold foot and just immediately panic. But apparently, yeah, I know, he's panicking too. And so I would panic because I'd feel a cold hand or a cold arm or a cold foot and be like, oh my God. But quickly learned, because the midwife reassured me that, best check their head or their chest, or just look at your baby, and just check to see if they're breathing, because it takes 3 months for the circulation to kind of complete its process through the body, and so the circulation goes to the hands and feet last, and so they'll remain cold for almost 3 months. It takes a while for them to warm up. So cold hands and feet, expect that. That's normal. All right, number 3. Again, because we don't know what we're doing and we're first-time parents, we didn't know what poo should look like. And so on maybe the first week, after a few days, after the tar poo, where it's like blackish poo and really thick and hard, we then, about a week in, got mustard yellow diarrhea looking poo. And I was really worried, and I thought he had diarrhea. He did not. That is what their poo should look like. So if you have mustard yellow diarrhea looking poo about a week in, that is completely normal. And so that is good. So mustard poo is the goal. And we're now at 3 weeks, and that's still what it looks like. So that's all good. And they should be having 6 to 8 wet or poopy diapers per day. So that is normal if you're having that many diapers. In terms of number 4, your baby's lips. So if your baby is breastfeeding, I think this goes for formula babies as well, but definitely for breastfeeding. If you see a blister form on their lips, so their lips basically just look like 2 giant blisters, that is actually a good thing. So that means that they're latching on you well, and they're developing what's called milk blisters, which helps them nurse and suck even better. And so if you see that on your baby's lips, don't do anything about it, don't worry about it. It's actually good. It means that they're toughening their lips up basically and helping them get a good latch on you. So that's really good if you see those blisters on their lips. Number 5, so immediately, pretty much, I think it was from day 1 that we noticed this, which at first was funny and then became concerning, is the amount that your baby sneezes. So apparently that is really, really common and completely normal, especially if you have a C-section baby. So apparently their constant sneezing isn't because they're allergic to the planet, which is what we became worried about. Yeah, he was worried too. Seeing if we have to go get him. Yeah, hold on. So, sneezing is completely normal. It means that they're clearing their nasal passages, and apparently, as I was saying, C-section babies do this even more so, apparently, than vaginal babies, because of the way they came out. They are just, they have more gunk, I guess, in them, and the sneezing is just them clearing their nasal passages, and so we are 3 weeks in and he still sneezes quite a bit, and it's completely normal, so don't worry about that either. Number 6, so when babies are born, they are born with what's called vernix. So you'll see their skin, especially over the first few days, it'll look like it's drying out and there's all this like flakiness on it. Don't worry about it. We were told basically it would go away within 1 to 2 weeks. You don't need to put products on it. You don't need to try and like lube your baby up with baby oil or baby cream and things like that. That it's just the vernix that protected them in the womb coming off, and it's quite fine just to let it go through its process. So we did that for the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks actually, because it was only today that there was just a little bit still kind of on him basically, and so I supplied some baby cream that one of the sample bags that the hospital gave us as like a goodie bag when we left. We just put that cream on him for some of the areas that were just flakier than others, because there's only a little bit left on his legs and his arms. And so we just put that on him just to give him some baby moisturizer. But as I said, most of the flakiness went away naturally, so we didn't have to worry about it. All right, number 7. When does your milk come in? So I'm not really sure how this question never came up in any of the breastfeeding classes I went to, but your milk doesn't come in necessarily immediately. So for day 1 to potentially day 3 or 5, all you're producing is colostrum, if you're producing anything. I wasn't. I had a bit of colostrum, but that was quite a nightmare to even get like a teeny tiny droplet out. So day 1 to potentially 3 to 5 for most women, you are producing colostrum, this little gold liquid, because your baby's tummy is the size of a pea, and it only needs that little bit of colostrum to be full. And you're basically just trying to latch your baby as much as possible to stimulate the production of the milk. And for most women, that might come in, day 3 to day 5. But for me, and apparently for people of like Indian Asian background, your milk could take a whole week to come in, so 5 to 10 days. And so our pediatrician warned us of that on day 3 and told us to just go ahead and start formula feeding, because it could be quite a long time. And your baby will just cry and cry basically until it comes in, which is awful to listen to. So we started baby on formula on day 3 because my milk didn't come in until 11 p.m. on day 6. So it took me nearly a whole week for my milk to come in. And even when it did come in, I couldn't even feed baby until the next morning around 4 a.m. because the milk that came in, so I'm naturally like a C, and the pregnancy probably made me about a D. But the day my milk came in, it was so obvious because I was like an F. And it was so engorged, but we couldn't get the milk out because the blocks were ducked. The ducts were blocked. And so because the ducts were blocked, the midwives had to help me like go for a shower and try and massage them. We tried pumping with the hospital pump to try and get the milk out. None of that worked. So eventually, and I was like a G by then. And so they put a bunch of ice packs in my bra to try and help with the engorgement and make the pain go down. And then 4 a.m. when the baby was finally ready to try and latch and feed, he managed to basically unblock them for me and drank. And so that 4 a.m. we drank from one, and then 8 a.m. we drank from the other. And thank goodness, because those were intense. So I've gone back down to like a D. And so yeah, it took a week for my milk to come in, and it was very obvious when your milk comes in, you'll know, because it is very full on. And because they were so full at first, they were leaking milk, which is a very strange experience to see milk coming out of your own boobs. Like, I understand that that's what they're drinking, but to see it was weird. So yeah, that's how long it takes for milk to come in for me. But again, it could be anywhere between a couple days to a week, to 10 days. Number 8, how many nappies or diapers does your baby need per day? It is good for babies to be having about 6 to 8 wet diapers or nappies a day. And so for us, about half of those are poop, half of those are pee, or they're both. And that's what you should expect. So I definitely recommend looking up like what your poo should look like over the first few weeks, because like I said, it was a learning curve for us. It's black and then turns another color, I think green, and then it turns into the yellow mustard color. That's completely normal. The pee, definitely be careful if you have a boy. We would have to make sure that his penis is pointing down, which I learned the hard way, because if it's pointing up, he'll leak out of its diaper, so it has to be pointing down, so he'll pee into the diaper. And obviously I'd also keep the diaper, I'd be very clever about keeping the diaper on him, and then having a new one ready to go right away. Otherwise he could pee in the air during a diaper change, so be careful if you have a boy. Alright, so that was fitting. I had to do a nappy change right then. Yeah, didn't we? Alright, so number 9 is how many bottles should you expect to need per day. Basically it depends on how you're feeding, right? So if you are mixed feeding like me and you're on the 4-hour rotation like me, you need 6 bottles a day, because if you're feeding every 4 hours in a 24-hour cycle, that's 6 bottles. It could be, yeah, it could be more than that. Obviously if you're feeding on demand, I don't really know anyone on formula that's really feeding on demand though, because basically formula fed babies, because you are feeding them the exact amount that they need, they tend to settle for longer. For newborns, because they need to be fed every 3 to 4 hours, it could be that you are doing a bottle every 3 hours, and so you might need about 8 bottles a day. And of course, if you are going through all those bottles and you want backups and things like that, you might want to get a bit more than 8 bottles, so that if you're washing some and sanitizing some, that you have some ready to go that you can use. But we basically, we have our 6 bottles that we use, and we just, we prep all 6 bottles at the beginning of each day, and then just as we go through all the bottles at the end of the day, we wash them all, we sterilize them all, and then we prep the next round of bottles. So it works perfectly for us. We have about 4 extra spare bottles if necessary, so 10 bottles is plenty. And we have smaller bottles and bigger bottles. When they're older, they're obviously going to need the bigger bottles. When they're younger, you can use the smaller bottles. We are using the smaller bottles right now just because it's more convenient. It takes up less space, but we have about half and half of each, so it's fine if you get all bigger bottles, but you'll definitely need about 8 to 10. Number 10, how much do newborns sleep? Because no one actually kind of tells you that basically when they're not feeding for that maybe 20 minutes on you, and being burped and having a diaper changed, they're just asleep. So it is very typical for them to sleep 12 hours a day. And so obviously if they're in the rotation that our bubby is on, it's ideal if they get most of those hours in the nighttime, but some of them will be in the daytime, so you'll find that your baby does sleep a lot during the day, which is totally normal. So on the days that we find that we have visitors, or we have doctor's appointments and things like that, we find that he actually sleeps better in the night because he's forced to be awake a little bit more during the day. But again, because he obviously needs to feed every 4 hours in our case, sometimes every 3 depending what kind of bub you have, more frequently depending if you're just breastfeeding on demand, you'll find that you may not get as much sleep at nighttime. We're lucky and a lot of the chunks of our sleep are at nighttime, so we have a very awake baby during the day, and he does hour-long naps in each 4-hour cycle during the day, which is perfect. So that again, more of the naps or the longer stretches of sleep are in the nighttime, meaning mommy and daddy can get some sleep. So those are our top 10 things that we had to Google or ask our midwives or both in the first week of birth. And so I hope that was helpful to you. If you have more questions, feel free to comment them down below. I'm obviously not a medical professional or anything like that, but as a new mom, I have the benefit of Googling as well, and I have midwives that I've been asking questions to, and so I'm happy to make another video if there's more things you want to know about and if I have the answer to them. Alright, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Bye!